Hello and welcome to another reacting video from Artis Opus. My name is Byron and I am hopefully qualified enough to be able to provide feedback on the viewers who have sent in their miniatures bravely. Thank you so much for sending them in. If you would like to send your miniature in for me to pass judgment on, it's all going to be constructive. I'm not here to slam anyone's stuff. Then the address is submit@artis-opus.com. We'll pop that down here. Without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, Michael Goldsberry from Johannesburg, sorry, South Africa. I can read, honest. This is a Mephiston. He's pretty solid. Maybe a little bit of edge highlighting will work on this. The depth on the rear of his cloak is great. The base rim is gold. No. So this is a good example. I'm not gonna, I'm not here to bag on significant parts, or there might be a theme to this or something like that. But it is really weird for me that there's gold on the model and then there's gold on the rim. Why does his frame match a color that is significantly evident in the model? I would pop a little bit of a wash into his eyes. The blood drops and stuff the vials, gloss varnish. Yeah, gloss varnish on some sections of this would go really well, but it's pretty crisp painting, dude. The cloak works really well. It's a lovely model. I would change that base rim. The sword, you're blatantly pretty proficient at some blending, so that's evident in the cloak as well. Maybe a little bit of edging on the cloak or something just to finish it off, but it is optional. It's material. That's something that wouldn't be there in real life. It's kind of an artifact of miniature painting, the edge highlight. So entirely optional. You could add a little bit more depth to the white wings on his belt as well, but white at that scale is really hard. I struggle with that type of thing. But yeah, he's looking really solid. Whoa, what is this? Philip Bater from Berlin in Germany has, that's cool. That is so creative. This is a diorama of a robot and a balloon with some cobwebs and everything. That works. It's kind of Pixar-y. Pushed himself out of his Necron comfort zone. I imagine that has worked really well. Should have done more contrast on the piece. Yeah, you could dry brush those bricks up now. Like, you could still go in there and carefully, you don't have to have a really wet dry brush, and that means that you can be quite subtle. So you could absolutely buff up those bricks. You could even buff up that log. I have one solid criticism that I think can really help. That blue is unnaturally flat as a source of object source lighting on this piece. It works better on the dude's eyes, even though technically it wouldn't be reaching those parts. I think it still does work. On the other parts, it shouldn't be that flat. So what I would do is I'd make it get, number one, you need to take the sources brighter. Those mushrooms, they need to be brighter. It should also be, glowing a little bit on their stalks and some other stuff like that. So take the mushrooms to a brighter point, and then what I'd like you to do is with a extra small or small series D, like around the closer parts, gently buff it up with a lighter blue too to add some variation to that. It would get brighter at the source and it would fade out naturally. So with it just being one color, you don't have access to that. That's cool AF though. Your yellow is more successful than your blue. Do the same stuff with the blue that you did with the yellow and you should be fine. That's awesome though. That's so creative. Props. Oh, that's a nice butt. Tassos Mukas. Yeah, that is a good model. I like that base too, with the stripes on it, works really well. So generally the areas of this model are extremely solid. The flesh probably just could have done with a flatter base coat, 2 thin coats. It's cliche, but 2 thin coats go into it, and then 1 wash, repeat the base coat, and then work from there. I'm going to end up repeating myself with stuff like this, but it's a really solid way to make sure that things just work. Solid base coat, wash, repeat base coat, and then within that repeated base coat in smaller sections, obviously, add your highlight color and work from there. But otherwise, it's really good. Nice edging. You could put a little bit more weathering in it or something like that. But that blue on his pants in particular is great. He does have a wonderful bottom. Good job. Wow, that's like self-shaded. Interesting. Okay, so from Rien Straub from Germany, this is my result using your dry brush method. Some shiny metallics, dude. After dry brushing with metallics, I added some washes, dry brushed again, painted the green parts, and at the end, some silver highlights. Base is coming soon. I will take that as a compliment because that looks very cool, dude. So the green parts, I don't know if it is part of the theme you have for your army, that they are kind of blocked up. It actually looks kind of cool and arty. You could glaze those if it's not between them, but I'd like that actually works fairly well. It's a Necron, so you know, stuff is going to be robot-y. The metallics look beautifully shiny or not in the recesses, which I really like. It adds a load of contrast. What would I change on this? I'd maybe do a little bit more to bring attention to his face. Maybe dot those eyes white to slightly broaden the area that is going to be picked up by the green, and then maybe a little glow underneath. I think there's a subtle glow there anyway, but you can make that glow, you know, it's kind of up to here, but you can make it brighter just in the very closer section, just like I said on the previous model. That's awesome though. I cannot wait to see that on a base. Great job. Oh, wow, cool, funky. 16 years old. Are you kidding me? Seriously. They're cool. I couldn't paint like that when I was 16, that's for sure. Really, really interesting concepts. Your tutorials helped me a lot. Without them, I wouldn't be able to paint my minis properly. Thanks, you're most welcome. These are some minis I painted with your help. They're awesome, dude. I really love the hardcore contrast you've got in there. Is great. That flesh hound is insanely good. I have nothing that I would improve about that. Please do an army like that and send me a picture. That's phenomenal. The picture of the corn guy is a little bit dark, so I can't quite see underneath, but I like the concept of color on him. I'll stick to the goblin guy for now. The fur on the wolf that he's on, you've imagined some highlights and stuff there, but it's kind of like it's been painted on a flat canvas and then the details have been ignored. They're really hard to make the most of details on a model like that, and they're really tricky. I struggle with this type of stuff myself. You could wash the entire thing carefully to make it so the recesses are darker, even in the highlighted sections. And then what you'll get there is the actual fur will have been made the most of, and it'll be brighter at the tips of the fur and darker in the recesses of the fur. So that's the one thing I'd add on that though. Overall though, insanely good, and you should be proud. And if I was that good at your age, I'd have a golden demon now. All right, so Zach from San Francisco. Technically been painting for about a year, haven't done that much painting. Oh, I love that squig that has blatantly been modeled on like jungle frogs or something. That is a cool idea. Nurgle mini are painted in a scheme of a mad scientist laboratory, and 2 squigs are painted like a poison dart frog. Yeah, sorry, I was right. Please let me know what you think. Squig's a great idea. Really, really, really like it. I'd make his teeth brighter. You know, the teeth are such an important part of squigs. Take them right up, dude. And against that dark background, they'll look great anyway. You should add some, the weapon is great. The weapons are brilliant, especially that axe on your Blight Lords. I've been making the most of the depth on these models. So washing into those pits and those recesses, and also the steps between the armor, really good, but a little bit flat, including the base. You know, that base could be washed a couple of times now. Nice crisp black rim on it, but yeah, give the same amount of TLC you've given to the metals on those Nurgle models to the flat panels, the armor, and I think that'll be a real benefit. Mix a sepia and red wash, dilute it a lot, lamy medium. You can use contrast paints for that. You can use Citadel shades, doesn't matter. And use that to push into the recesses on your flesh and you'll find it looking less flat. You can mix in some yellow or disgusting green colors or whatever because it's Nurgle too. But that is a really good, and I love the idea of the poison dart frog. That is successful. An army like that would look pretty great. Wow, Griblies. Nice quality photography. Gavin Gladwell, Cornwall in the UK. Painted using Series S. Thanks, keep up the awesome content. Thank you, you're most welcome. I love seeing our brushes put to good use. Okay, so just for the viewers out there, because I know people are concentrating on how much I concentrate on bases, this is an example of miniatures in the context of the display base working. So you know when Games Workshop take their miniatures and they put them on the same type of table and they've got their brown rims, it kind of makes sense. This makes sense here. It wouldn't make as much sense on a green table or in a different environment, but I will say in the context of this picture, that brown base rim is not upsetting me too much. The painting on these is insane, really nice. They're quite big minis, so I'm gonna have to get right in to have a look at the details. I don't have too much to add. They're great, dude. They're really nice. Nice depth on those nids. Really good, solid, you know, consistent quality of basing and the color scheme. Use of tufts. So I'm going to nitpick. So the skulls look a little bit kind of too sepia on the base of your scary sorcerer 40k man. That's definitely what they're called, right? They look a bit off I would maybe give them a bit of a dry brush and bring them up to a more bony color because they just look slightly unnatural. The red is great. Your big scuttling scorpion thing, you could put some scratches on the metal if you wanted it to look more battle worn, but overall it's really clean. Send in some more pictures of close-ups in particular sections you would like critique on, and I would be happy to look at your stuff again because it's great. Overall though, you should be super pleased with that. Anonymous bust by Banshee from David Kreitzberg. Good colors, dude. Like very, very lovely colors. This looks artistic. The eyes are great too. A lot of personality. One of the eyes is looking in a slightly different direction from the other. Normally it's not the type of thing you could critique, but on a bust you can tell a bit more. So on screen, his left eye, which looking at it on the screen is the eye that's on the right, that is looking in a slightly different direction. Could just be the angle of the photo. The only thing I can really add to this, because I love the colors a lot, is that make sure you keep thinning your paints even when you need to get it to cover in the final stages as a highlight. So just be patient, practice elsewhere on your thumb, on your, the thing you're holding the miniature on or whatever, but that is really, really nice. Maybe thin your paints. And then the other one is, he looks kind of like he's being, there's a lot of contrast and stuff like that, but maybe I would take that kind of bright spot on his bald, what would be a shiny head, the light, if you've imagined a light point for the rest of the miniature, use that. Otherwise, definitely the top of his head would be going up to a brighter color, in my opinion. Lighter color, not brighter, but that's great. Really cool painting. All right, we've got Archon here. I love the Archon model. Cool backdrop as well. Great idea. Really, really nice. Thought I would send you the recent Archon model I finished. I'm a big fan of the channel and have recently bought some of your dry brushes to try out. Well, I hope you like them. I spent a long time designing them. I think they're amazing. Archon is looking badass. I will concentrate on a couple of key areas. The picture that's top right on my screen, we're going to make that appear. It looks like the painting has gone from quite a dark black, all black's dark, you know what I mean though, quite a dark black, through to a lighter color without too much of a midtone, and that's made it look a little bit bitty. That could be worked on. Things like painting recesses glowing is really very, very, very hard. I can remember watching Duncan paint this with great confidence and being jealous of his control. So what I would do is I would paint those sections and then I would go around the edges of them to crispen it up, and that will just make them look infinitely better quality. You can do one thing, which is to mix dilute white paint with water and then just drop that in, let it dry, and then you can drop in fluorescents and they will instantly, you'll get super bright colors in the recesses without having to, force them there yourself. Overall, great effect though. The base is a bit flat, so I would completely be, he can still be on a flat, barren land, get some tufts in there, especially when the thing holding the tail of his Dorgar, I think it's called, whatever the beast is called, that detailed section that is holding his tail is so hyper detailed that it really stands out. You've got like flat base and then basically scenic base in the middle of it without any transition. So skulls, tufts, anything like that, bit of weathering maybe, you could use some pigments or something to tie its rocky bit with the rest of its base. That would be really useful as well, but looks solid, and I love the big dude, always will do. Matteo from Italy, who's used a backdrop beautifully, and it is an extremely appropriate color for his models. This is a warband, I'm guessing. I should know this stuff, this is Age of Sigmar. All the flames are dry brushed. Wow, they look great. Like that, those bright white recesses are just fantastic. Really good job. The theme on these is absolutely on point. Thin wash 2, remain the technique, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for the kind words. I'm glad you've enjoyed the stippling. You've used it extremely well. Okay, a couple of things to add. I'm going to concentrate on the guy with the wavy sword. He's really cool. I would take the highlight on the metal parts, especially further away from the flame towards the end. Take that a little bit higher. It doesn't have to be super crisp. I know they're like a gnarly warband, so you could do a stuttering highlight like I did on my White Scars video recently. A couple of scratches would work really well as well. Overall, they're solid though. Maybe I would take the red up to a slightly brighter color, especially on its hard edges, or include some little scratches or cross hatches there. They're great though, dude. You should be insanely proud. That fire is super successful. Nice, good quality picture. Interesting colors on that cloak. Ewan Watson, UK. Please find and attach my most recent Inquisitor, painted with Artis Opus Brushes. Looking forward to hear what you think. This is, there are some pretty high level concepts here, I must say. So there's There's quite a lot of depth to that lady's armor. It looks almost like an opal. I think it's great. The OSL coming off the candles is done really nicely and it bounces off the gold really well. The glowing hand, also awesome. I will concentrate on a couple of things, like the gold pendant hanging from her wrist, a little bit more washing in the recesses there to increase the contrast because it's kind of blended into one. And then her face is a little bit grainy. Faces at this scale are hard. It's just patience. You just got to, you know, don't rush anything. Be careful with the base coat. Do a really light prime, like very light, like a dusting, and then base coat carefully by brush, and you won't build up as much texture. Overall, that's great though. Maybe a little more contrast on the end of the sword as well. But dude, that is awesome, and there's some probably high-end stuff there. Your use of color is beautiful. Even the base is great with the little marble things on it. You should be super proud. Send in more. I would like to see more, please. Wow. Thomas, this is looking pretty funky. Again, it's to do with like there's some areas on this that have got great contrast and there's some areas of this that have got less contrast. So there's a couple of things. Edge highlighting, subtly, but still edge highlighting, like his weapon at the end and stuff like that will help tie things together and make it look less pastel-y. The transitions will be distracted from because of the hard lines on the edge. And the other thing that I would do is, you've got it a bit like in his armpit, but that might be natural from the photo. I would maybe push into the recesses of the model with a wash. The little scarabby-like bits, which there's lightning coming from, I would wash into the recesses of those sections as well, just to break them up and stop them from looking as flat. He looks great though, really solid, and I particularly like, you know, the wings things coming from his back, the contrast there and the interesting colors I'm really down with. I'd maybe wash that silver tail to increase contrast there as well. That is it, we're done, the end. Really impressive stuff, guys. Like, nice to see people sending stuff of all levels in and some super creative stuff. The diorama I absolutely loved. Thought that was brilliant. Thank you very much for submitting your miniatures. Hopefully my feedback has been useful. If you would like to submit, again, the address is submit@artis-opus.com. It'll appear somewhere here, hopefully. It's also linked below in the video, and I'll put it in the pinned comment because we got about a million questions about it in the last one, even though it was linked everywhere. And then as far as things that we do want people to ask about or comment about, you know, let me know if you agreed with my opinions on those miniatures. Did you have a favorite? Did you not have a favorite? And give us some suggestions for future videos. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you can see the next one. And if you've submitted miniatures, then thank you. And if you're gonna submit miniatures or you're on the fence about it, just send them in. I'm not here to slam anyone's stuff. I love watching or seeing other people's work, and I am always happy to try and help to the best of my ability. So we will catch you in the next video.